Good evening. I'm Cathy Brechtelsbauer, and I appreciate this chance to talk to you. I was at the library, and it was a Sunday, and guess what? It wasn't open, but there were just so many people there that I thought it would be good for you to know that and to have a specific request that we have summer hours at the library downtown. You could even start with just that one library. And I went there to turn in a book and to take out a book and to meet a friend. And I was able to turn in the book, of course, but during about 45 minutes while I waited for my friend, there were so many people who came, lots and lots. I was just amazed, so many people. I thought, this is really good use of public library on Sunday afternoon, but trouble was it wasn't open because this is June now. So I just wanted to put in a request that we have summer hours, at least that one library, and it's only like 1 to 5 for 3 months, so I don't think it would break the city budget, and it would be a good thing to try, and it would encourage reading and other worthwhile activities that go on at libraries. We have wonderful facility. It's a beautiful new library, and I think that what we should think most is how we can encourage the use of the library instead of discouraging the use of the library. There were even children there who said they were there because they wanted to read. And I thought, here we are in a city wanting to encourage young readers. And that's something that we, of course, need to spend time thinking about, is how to make life better for the children of our city, as well as how to improve access for everyone to the facilities of the city. So this is my request tonight, that you have library hours during the summer and not just 9 months of the year. And I think we have some of our young readers here who would like to talk to you.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Will you tell us your name, please?
I'm Rashid An.
Welcome.
I was at the library on Sunday because I really love to read. That's my favorite thing. And I usually come on Sundays because that's when I, get to read with others. So, when I was at school, I would always read every single time. And then my teacher would always say I was really good. And then so over this, when school finished, she told me to keep up reading. So I decided to go in the library on Sundays. So I was reading. Then when it was June and there was no no library. So I didn't know what to do. So I just came. So I just wanted you guys to open it on Sundays.
Great comments. Thank you. Thank you. Is somebody else? No? Okay. Takes a lot of courage to come up here, and I admire that. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask Jim David, our legislative and operations rep, to maybe bring that to one of our committees for discussion. Thank you, Jim. Welcome.
Hello, Scott Ehrisman, Sioux Falls. Well, I'm sure that the indoor pool will probably be open on Sundays, so we could probably afford to open the libraries on Sundays too. Just thought I'd point that out. I was reading a letter to the editor today and thought to myself that I should probably come and thank the council or the clerk's office. I don't know who is responsible for it. But allowing the Sioux Falls free thinkers to come and do an invocation. In the letter to the editor today, there was a guy who was confused as to why the invocation got started. Benjamin Franklin, if you want to be reminded, was a deist. Deists don't believe in religion. They believe in a higher power. He wasn't a Christian. He was the one that came up with the idea of the invocation. When he was asked about it throughout his life, he said, it's because I wanted everyone to become unified in a peaceful manner before we started meetings. It had nothing to do with religion or Christianity. And so I'd like to thank the council and the clerk's office for allowing someone who is not a Christian or of a religious sector to come and do the invocation. That was the real intent of why we do it. Now, I noticed today, well, Sire or whatever you call it, wasn't working again today online, and so I didn't get to watch the whole meeting. The Pavilion did their annual report, and I'm really concerned from reading the story today that the Visual Arts Center charging admission is a failed experiment. I predicted when they did close it that it was going to be a failed experiment. It only didn't raise very much money, and it's actually breaking the promise to the voters. I was here, I voted for the Pavilion. The Visual Arts Center was to remain free. The Great Hall and the Cinedome and other entities within the Pavilion were supposed to bring in enough money so the Visual Arts Center could remain free. You got to realize something. A lot of people aren't going to go out and seek art when they go into that building if they're there for some other reason. But if it's free, they might walk through there. Charging admission to someone who is not really interested in art, they're not going to pay it. I found it laughable in the story today that 75% of the people who visited the Visual Arts Center over the past year did it on the free days, which is only 5 days out of the month. So that kind of tells you that people want a free visual arts center. And I don't know what kind of power the council has over telling the board at the Pavilion what to do, but I do know that you have the power of the purse. And you can put conditions on a subsidy that you give to them every year, and you can request to them that they open the Visual Arts Center for free. Now, I understand that big exhibits do need money, and you should probably charge admission to them because people will pay it. But for local and regional artists, it doesn't make any sense. Your attendance went way down. It went down 75% once you started, charging admission. We as taxpayers pay for that building through maintenance, through the CIP. We do an entertainment tax subsidy. We do federal grants that comes from our tax dollars. We should have at least something in the building we can walk in there besides the bathrooms that we can use for free. And like I said, you have the power of the purse, and you can ask the Pavilion to change their mind on the Visual Arts Center being free. The Institute of Art in Minneapolis, a large facility, their permanent collection, one room, is probably worth more than the whole entire permanent collection of the Washington Pavilion. And if they can have a free art center, I'm sure Sioux Falls can probably figure it out too. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ehrisman. Welcome.
What?
Welcome.
What, something going on? Someone else coming up?
Oh, your
Theresa Stehley, Sioux Falls, and I'm here tonight. Do you all have the handout that I passed out? I'm here to talk about the vote that happened last Tuesday. I was a superintendent at St. Mark's Lutheran. This is the second time I've had that position there. And there was great voter confusion at our center, and I've heard through the grapevine, it was happening throughout our community. And as I have on this handout, there were many causes for this, but I think the city election played into this voter confusion, and this has been happening for years. At St. Mark's Lutheran, we had a constant stream of residents who had been longtime users of that location. And when they came in, we did not have their names in our book. So I called down to the auditor's office, and I was told that these people who had been voting there for years had been reassigned to places like Trinity Baptist, O'Gorman, Asbury Methodist, and the Center for Active Generations. These voters had never been notified about this change. Others came in and thought that it was the voting center concept that we had just used on April 8th for the city election, and that they could go anywhere. And people were confused about what anywhere is. And at the end of the day, we need to have better communication to people before every election about where they're going to go. As I've been just talking with Bob Litz, and I want to say for the record, I'm not trying to throw Bob under the bus. He has been very helpful, and he's trying to do the best he can with his part of this voting process. But we have the school district and we have the city involved as well. And we need to take the guesswork out of this for the future. We will never have a consistent, stable voting location for all people. Because of what I mentioned, each governmental entity wants to do it their own way. Voting centers, consolidation, There's a financial constraint with the county. They can't afford all the e-poll books. So you're all working separately. And we're growing. So what works today for a location isn't going to work in 5 or 10 years. So I'm thinking, what can we do to help? And I'm an activist, and I'm willing to put my time and my money in to helping the citizens get where they need to be. And what came to me is a mailing to all registered voters before every election and tell them where they're voting. Now, this year, my place moved from Horace Mann to Hope Lutheran, and Bob Litz sent out a little card, similar to what we would get for our driver's license renewal, and told me where I voted. It was in my hand, I had it. A lot of people, of course, don't get that. And I believe there's like 88 to 90,000 registered voters in Sioux Falls. So it would be a matter of sending that out every time we had an election. If there's a voting center, we get that before the election. These are the places you can go. We have it in our hand. We cannot push the burden for informing our citizens on the media, expecting TV, Argus Leader, Internet. We can't expect them to get the message to everybody. And I do believe that if we had a vote, if we put that up to a public vote and said, hey people, are you willing to spend extra money to get a mailing out to tell you where to vote, they would say yes. This has been a rising frustration level through the years. So that's my first thing that I really want us to be looking at. And I talked to the county this morning about it. They were very open to sending out this mailing. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was the regard I have for these people who work at the polling sites. And for years I have voted at Horace Mann. I come in there, I see my neighbors, they're senior citizens, and I'm thinking, oh, they're having coffee and coming and going. Wrong. These people go an hour beforehand, and then that morning of the election, they're there at 6 in the morning, and they're there till 7 at night, and they cannot leave. And oftentimes there's no breaks involved. 13-hour day. But at the end of that 13 hours, then they are expected to do the takedown, manual labor, moving chairs, taking the voting machine, the voting booths down, the auto mark, it's this heavy thing that they have to lift. At my center, we had people with bad backs, and we're just exhausted, and then they're doing the manual labor. I know, and I talked with some people who were involved with the last city election, and it was the same format. So what I'm suggesting is that to make this easier to get people to work at the polls in the future, that we would consider a split shift, maybe 6 hours at a time instead of 13, and also getting a team of younger people to come in at the end and do the manual cleanup. Because what we really want from these people working is to protect the sanctity of the vote and to facilitate people getting in. And just going back to the mailing, also, if you mailed out to all the registered voters, I think that you would perk them and inform them that this election's coming up, get out there and participate, because we want to have a better turnout than 20%. We can do better than that in Sioux Falls. So that's my issue tonight. I wanted to say this now, even though I don't think we have another election for 2 years, but it's something that we need to really be considering. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, welcome.
Hello. My name is Dan Daly. I'm a resident of Sioux Falls. Wanted to add a little bit to what Theresa had to say. My mother worked polls from 6 in the morning until 8 p.m. She's 82 years old. That speaks for itself. I wanted to discuss a few things. First of all, actually I've got several topics. I'll be brief. I won't take a lot of your time. The construction of the indoor swim center at Spellerberg, I'd like to have that postponed for 4 years. And the reason being all the construction proposed along 41st Street and 26th Street, it's going to paralyze the VA hospital, and I don't think there needs to be construction at Spellerberg at the same time. I've issued some handouts and I've gone into a full discussion, and you can certainly review that. And I have handouts for the audience as well that I'd like to pass out if you don't mind. Okay. I'm a veterans advocate. I don't necessarily support city government for obvious reasons, I think everyone knows. You kept me in court for 8 years, and I went to state Supreme Court. Cost me $50,000 to prove your government unconstitutional. You've not edited that. You're still not constitutional. You do not allow citizens access to the courts. I've made it my business going around to people and giving them advice, not legal advice, that how they can get out of the citation process. It's very easy, very easy. The city can't take anyone to court because you don't allow appeals. And the only way that you can incite action is with fines collection or liens or court action. You need court action, and you don't have it. You need to change that. I don't know what the holdup is. It's really modifying the old code. The codes were renumbered, the text was changed, but you're still unconstitutional government. And okay, otherwise, I'm a combat vet. My opinion is that the city of Sioux Falls is not veteran friendly. Understandable, not everyone on the council is a veteran. And I'd like to, well, actually, I'm lobbying, I'm going to visit congressmen and see if I can get, I realize you're not going to stop Spellerberg. There's no way for citizens to stop that. That was evident in the vote. We had no choice whether we wanted Spellerberg or an indoor pool or whatever. We were going to have a pool shoved down our throat of some kind. But I think that we don't need the VA hospital, well, I call it Broken Arrow. You're infringing upon them so that access is a problem. If you could stall the swim center for 4 years, I'm not opposed to the swim center. Actually, I believe that the VA hospital should be relocated. It's built in 1949. It's got problems with asbestos, and there's a new, City of Brandon is lobbying for a VA nursing home, and I'm going to work with the mayor there. Again, I'm not a patriot of this city, although I live here. But I think that if the new nursing home and another new VA in a government complex out on the east side of Brandon is a good idea. And that's one of the things I'm lobbying for. The old VA facility probably has no use. You can tear it down and build a Walmart. Sorry. The other thing I wanted to say is city actions are unenforceable. I mentioned that. Citation, performance, liens. One of these handouts gives all of the detail, all of the cases, cites codified laws, why your government is unconstitutional. It needs to change. And I think, too, that city debt's a problem. It's headed towards insolvency. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect most citizens because there's a sales tax base and a little bit of property tax. If I were a city employee, I'd be worried about my retirement and whether I'm going to have a job in the future. And this sort of thing is happening across the country. It's the next financial crisis. It's happening throughout California. The baby boomer money has traveled in many directions. It headed into municipal bonds, and they're going out to everyone. That is the next insolvency. Doesn't hurt for the city to take bankruptcy. I mean, you can get all this money in, you can use it, but end result, when you're in bankruptcy, you're going to have to cut, and you're going to have to be really slender. You should probably start preparing for that. You're $400 million right now, you're probably going to be $1 billion by 2018. There's just too many things under construction. We're growing, that's true. That's true. And the money might be there. But it just seems a little careless. And it's going the wrong directions. It's not going to infrastructure. It's going to public entertainment facilities, which are necessary. They should have been paid attention to a long time ago. But the city's growing, and infrastructure is more important. Am I welcome to pass these out?
We are almost at 6 minutes, Mr. Daly.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to limit this to 5 minutes. If you'd like to make them available for the council, that would be fine.
I've made them available for the council. Can I pass them out to the audience?
You can put them on the table right there, and anybody who
Great.
would like one can is sure
That works.
welcome to pick them up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for the extra minute.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
could I make a brief comment to Mr. Daly? Just a very brief one.
You're welcome to that, Counselor Staggers.
Mr. Daly, first of all, I'd like to apologize because you gave me some handouts to give to the city council members, and I put that very securely in my car, and then, well, they're still there, very secure in my car. I'm very sorry I didn't.
That's
get
one
this
of the
distributed.
handouts I gave you.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor Staggers. Anybody else that would like to address the council today? Welcome, sir.
Hi. My name is Don Bechtel. I came to Sioux Falls when it was 30,000 people. And I like Sioux Falls. And I know a lot of you people on the council. And what I'm really upset about is this garbage deal. I am what the mayor calls, well, I'm not, but he refers to some of us as slumlords. Now, if he referred to some other people like that, they'd be awful mad. I don't care. But this ordinance was putting your garbage cans inside and then drag them out. I had a garbage man come in my garage, pick it up and take it out and dump it. If I had to do it half the time, I'd forget it. And I'm referring more to the apartments. I'd like to know, every day you read about homeless people. And I'd like to know who's going to drag them garbage cans out from behind the house up to the garbage can the day he comes. We had an ordinance where we had to build a fence and a bin and what have you, and that wasn't all that bad, but then people come along, just kind of throw it over the top. They never bothered to throw it in there, so it didn't help a thing. And this moving these garbage cans, I don't think they should be laying out in the front of the house, maybe. But if you haven't got no place else to put it, it should be stricken. There ain't no landlord comes out and drags that stuff out there. It's the people that live there. And I don't believe, and I'm not very smart, but I know, I've read the Constitution, and you guys cannot levy this fine like you're doing legally. I don't know if I wouldn't spend no $50,000 to prove it. But I read this in the Argus Leader, and I don't believe everything they write either. But this Mr. Lubers, he writes a letter here. He said, offenders wouldn't be subject to any fines under the proposed ordinances. He said they'd send a letter. Well, I'll tell you what comes after that letter. Comes a letter telling you, oh, $100 because you didn't do it right away. And I had a situation like that. I was out of town. I came back in. The day I come back in, I had a fine for $100. At first, I knew about it. And I took care of the problem immediately. As far as I know, that $100 fine's still there. It'll stay there forever. I don't care. But it's illegal the way they done it. And he shouldn't be telling us they would, no fines. They shouldn't be writing, and maybe he didn't, but the paper did, that they'd send a letter and notifying the property owner. Well, pretty soon you're going to get a letter wanting $100. Then if you don't like it, you can spend $50 to get out to talk to somebody about it. That's not right. And I think you ought to forget about, unless you have an ordinance, one ordinance should be changed, and it isn't here. But the one that fines a landlord for the guy leaving his car set there that rents it, or making a mess and throwing the stuff around there, the landlord shouldn't be fined for that. That's like somebody driving your car and gets picked up for speed, and you can't find the guy that owns the car because he wasn't driving it. That's wrong. And I do know right from wrong, and I'll have to tell you this. Just adding more on there. They want no homeless people. All this extra money, the landlord's going to charge the people that are renting it. It's going to cause more homeless people. I just had, not too long ago, I had a guy hanging around there partying. I asked him to leave. And after I heard all the profanity I've ever heard in my life from him, and I called the police, and they told me, well, somebody invited him in. You can't do nothing with him. Well, he informed me that I keep on his case. He said he'll make sure that I don't have no apartments to rent. And I never thought much about it. But I read in the paper a few weeks later, somebody lit a fire over on the east side in the hallway. I don't know if it was him. I don't know who it was. They don't know. But I never thought of that. And here, 3rd of June, he knocked the big picture window out. He's in jail. They did get him. And I wrote a letter, run around, got some estimates. It's in excess of $1,000. And hopefully that they make restitution, but so far I've never got any. But putting this garbage stuff, I've got some apartments. There ain't no place that I can put them except where they're at. Does that mean you make about 10 homeless families or pay $100 every time you get a letter? It's not right. If the garbage man would go down behind the building, pull them up the hill, I wouldn't care too much. It'd cost more money, the renters would pay more. That's just the way the world runs. And
Mr. Bechtel, we're nearing 6 minutes again, so
all right.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. It will be a first reading tonight, and it will get more discussion at a second reading, and maybe even more discussion beyond that before the council votes on it.
Send a few fines to a couple more people around town, you'll probably get a lot of it.
Well,
let me ask you one more question.
Yes, sir.
This Trent Lubers, what is his title of his job? Is he here?
Anybody help me out? What's Trent's?
For what? Public Works, huh? Who hires him? How does he get elected? You do?
Mr. Bechtel, we're getting a little out of order here. We're going to have to continue with our meeting.
Can I find out who hires him? I'd like to know.
He's an employee of the city, Mr. Bechtel. Thank you. Okay. All righty, any other input from the public? Welcome.
Welcome. I'm Carol Anderson, and I like Sioux Falls. I am a landlord as well, and a big taxpayer, I feel. And listening to Mr. Bechtel here, he kind of turned my crank, because we heard nothing all winter about homeless people. I did one of those appeals, and it cost $50, and you should have saw the monkey show I went through. They said, ma'am, you can't speak till you're addressed. They showed pictures that were obsolete. I said, what am I paying this $50 for? Then I got $300 fine from the city because there was pit bulls in there. And my concern is, I don't know, does Mayor Huther attend these meetings going forward, Sioux Falls?
Oh, yes, he's just not
Well,
here
he
tonight.
should be here tonight. He promised me 2 years ago that he would have monthly meetings with the landlords. And he has never had one. Maybe he got higher positioned. Maybe he thinks we're slumlords. But I know for a fact that I get 25 calls a week and somebody wants a place to live. And once we get them in there, the nightmare begins. Well, I come from a farm. I'm a farm girl. They have subsidies for farmers, and for landlords, they have a kick in the teeth. And most of the landlords are getting older, and none of the young people want to approach it. Now, I'm heading towards 70. My husband died, and I'm thinking to myself, Carol, can you do this? Yes, Carol, you can do it. You're a can-do person. But how long? How long are we going to go on for? So what we want is something proposed to help these landlords. The court system, I evicted someone in January, got her out in May, and there was pit bulls in there. And believe me, we went through a major stabbing in my life and my husband's, and we almost died. And we're supposed to tackle pit bulls and fines and no rent and damage. We need to get on track with landlords here, and they are very important people. And besides that, look at the taxes we pay. I mean, we're paying all of your wages. And the houses that we pay on are higher than our own homes because we're supposedly investors. Well, that's wrong too. So I think it's time to address, and I speak for a lot of landlords here. You know how many people I talk to that are landlords that won't come up here and talk? Well, I will. And we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.